See if we
Okay,
can
let's
get
see
the
here.
clap this time.
I think that should just be the running joke is that we don't.
Yeah.
We're not good at it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, clap, or 1, 2.
No. God fucking damn it, dude.
I'm asking you.
I thought we were jumping right in. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
On the beat after 1 is when we clap.
Okay, how about you do it then?
Okay. 3,
Mhm.
2, 1, clap. Oh my god.
Welcome to No Sad Face, a toxically positive Kingdom Hearts fandom podcast. I'm your host, PJ from Cabletown. I'm here with my co-host and the father of 2 of my children, regular Pat.
What's up, PJ? Is the lore between us going to expand with each episode? Will people learn a bit more about our sordid history?
Yeah, that's why they're going to listen. Yeah, they don't care about Kingdom Hearts.
I like that. So and that honestly really efficient because then they can just tune out after like literally the intro.
Right.
Like, okay, well, I got the most important stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Come back in however many, whatever our release schedule is.
We still don't know. We haven't posted an episode yet.
Yeah.
We want to get some in the can. So, we're kind of inching along here. So how this podcast works is that we are combating negativity within the Kingdom Hearts fandom by focusing on things that we like about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Every episode, Pat and I pick things to talk about and get 10 minutes apiece to really get into an aspect of the series that we like. And then at the end, as a little treat, we give ourselves a minute apiece to just tear into something that we hate.
Yes. Without the treat at the end, I would not have agreed to do this. I need to be rewarded for good behavior. So that's why I signed up to do this.
I agree. And I feel like there are going to be episodes where it will be harder and harder for us to stay positive and get to the treat.
Yes, correct. Correct. That is true.
Today, for example,
what
is going to be difficult for me.
No.
Yeah,
PJ,
I know.
PJ.
But not for reasons why you think.
I was going to say, I know, like, we're recording this. This is some inside baseball here. We're recording this the day after the Super Bowl. So PJ's probably really hungover and cranky. And that's why he's going to give Calm a hard time.
I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I don't
know
Not
even SZA?
I haven't watched. I'm waiting to watch the halftime show because I love Kendrick. I love SZA.
Yeah.
As you know.
It was great. Yeah.
But I just haven't had the time.
All right. Fair enough. Because you're busy thinking about Chain of Memories.
Well, there was no Wicked trailer this year.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew that, so I didn't watch
That's
it.
fair.
I knew that there wouldn't be this year.
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking about Chain of Memories. Today's episode is about Chain of Memories, which is a weird one in the Kingdom Hearts series. I mean, they're all kind of weird in their own way.
True.
But this one's a weird one. Originally released in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance, and then remade as part of the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Plus package for the PlayStation 2 in 2007, and then was finally released internationally. Actually, I think it was just released in America in 2008.
That sounds right, yeah. I know that's when I got it. It was around release in 2008. Very, again, sordid history for Chain of Memories. It's gone through so many permutations in such a relatively short amount of time when compared to these other games that get released, in like the early aughts and then get their first remaster. And like, I mean, obviously you have the final mixes, but like 2013 is when we get 1.5. But Chain of Memories had like all these different forms very early on.
Yeah, and people did not internationally. If you weren't Japanese or North American, you didn't get to play the remake until 1.5 came out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's also pretty contentious in the fandom because it immediately breaks from the first game's formula of the action battle system.
Yeah.
It has a card-based battle system, which is still action-based, but it's a glorified version of war, I would call it.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a mixture of war and this, I might be speaking out of turn on this, but like it gives me like ATB Final Fantasy vibes. Like it's not turn-based, but you're still like thinking strategically about your next move, but you also are kind of on a timer. It's not as like blatant and in your face with like a meter as it is in the FF games, but it's definitely, making you stop down and think, but you have to, react and put up with like enemy pressure as you're making your decisions.
It is a very strategic based game, and you have to be able to read, and you have to be able to do a little bit of math.
Yeah, so
So
you know that's kryptonite in our circle. Well, before we really get into it, PJ, I wanted to ask you because I think I like Chain of Memories more than typical KH fan.
yeah,
I really don't know where you stand on it. Like for me, it's like fifth behind the numbered games and Birth by Sleep. I don't know if you have like a series ranking. Ranking is, famously like an arbitrary and reductive exercise that really only like the most base individuals take part in
right, which is
and
why
make
you
like
and
their
your
whole brand.
fandom, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right.
So I was wondering where you thought Calm stacks up for you personally.
It's got a really special place in my heart for reasons that we'll get into
Mm,
when I talk about the thing that I love the most about it. But aside from that, like it was such a weird time in the fandom. I like I've said before and will continue to say, I was around from the very beginning.
mm,
And Chain of Memories was announced the same time that 2 was. And so watching that game kind of come to life and be a primer for 2, but also be totally different.
mm,
In terms of what the actual game is, I think that the gameplay is really interesting. I think that Nomura made a game for the Game Boy using the limitations and features of the Game Boy, and it shows within every aspect of
yeah.
that game. But I think that its presentation is fantastic. I think that what it was really great. It's not my favorite, but
Mm,
it really does hold a very special place. I would say that it's pretty solidly middle ground
mhm,
for me in terms of Kingdom Hearts experiences.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking when you were saying how, because that's something I initially, or at least I didn't know for a long time that it was announced alongside KH2. My experience with the series, like I really only got into the online space when like KH2, like post release. Before that, I was just like, seeing commercials on TV and then experiencing the games on my own, maybe with some cousins, and not really having anyone to talk about or read discussion about. But I just thought, what a novel concept to announce the upcoming release of 2 games at the same time, and then they're both out like within the next 4 calendar years. Wish we could take some notes from those tactics. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this in later episodes as well, but Kingdom Hearts' experiences in terms of like how they announced games, how they released them, how they developed them, they created the eras of Kingdom Hearts,
Mm,
which like Aba did a good job breaking this down in concept and
mm,
philosophy. But for me, like that's also how I mark the passage of time with Kingdom Hearts is like, are we in the 1 era? Are
mm,
we in the COM 2 era? Are we in the handheld era? Like, even though there's one saga for this portion of the series
mm.
as it's categorized canonically, I think that is doing a disservice to the 20 years
For
of
sure.
history
Yeah.
that the series has.
Yeah. Um, Absolutely. Like I always, I love how Aba broke it down, but I always refer to like 2 days in BBS as the tragedy era. Like that's the tragic
Uh,
trio. I like group kind of 1 and Calm closer together. Like they're their own thing, even though like okay, Calm is obviously
mhm,
very much a bridge game between 1 and 2. But because Calm is like really retreading a lot of the 1 stuff, I, more heavily associated with that 1 vibe. And then 2
right.
to BBS is kind of like its own thing. And then Coded is in the middle, and then we kind of get into the, the more modern era. But yeah, it's always fun to think about. Like, I always love looking at the Disney eras, like the Renaissance, the Golden Age, the Dark Age, and thinking about, the corollaries for Kingdom Hearts. I know what my Dark Age is, but maybe for another episode.
Yeah, sure. We'll get into that in the future. But I mean, I agree. For me, a lot of the fun of Chain of Memories was that it was the final kind of premise of like before 2, like the promise
Mhm.
of 2 is coming. And in those days, the development for 2 really didn't take that
Yeah.
long, especially by today's standards. But back then, when you had new games coming out every year, and we were used to a new Sims expansion pack every
Yeah.
year, a new Harry Potter every year, a new everything every year. Like the 3-year wait was agonizing.
Yeah.
Like people were constantly wondering, like, when is 2 coming? When is 2 coming? And Chain of Memories kind of being the buffer to that, and just kind of being the prelude and the last of the nostalgic like 1 feeling. It's still in
Yeah.
Chain of Memories in a way that it's not in any of the other games.
Agreed.
So I feel that. I understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And when you're younger, when you're a
So,
kid, 3 years is like 10 years. Like,
well, right.
you can watch something on TV in 2007, and then by the time it's 2010 and they're doing like a reunion special, you're like, oh my god, I thought these people were all dead because it's been a million years.
Yeah, it's really something when you're a kid. I mean, like I played the first Kingdom Hearts game in 6th grade,
Hmm.
and then when 2 came out, I was a freshman in high school.
Fuck.
So like that's a big leap for a kid. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure. Huge leap for a kid. Yeah, that's like a
Yeah.
completely different person between 6th grade
Yeah.
and freshman year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely was.
Yeah.
Okay, well I'm gonna start the timer for
Yeah.
actually, do you want to go first this time since I went last
I
time?
can't remember who. Did you went first last time?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so I
went
can
first
go.
last
Yeah.
time. Okay, cool. I'm gonna
Sure.
start the timer. The one complaint that I've had for people who've listened to this episode is
Mm,
that the timer is
mm.
too loud. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna hold the phone away, very
Yeah.
far away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start the 10-minute timer now.
Okay. So for me, Chain of Memories is very special in that I think it's the core of the SDG camaraderie, which I don't think many people would initially think when examining, all of the games where they're traveling together. Because really, it's just 1, 2, 3 and Chain of Memories where they're like a unified, trio. Obviously, you have Recoded
Mhm.
where, you have the data version of Sora, but I again, we'll get to that episode. We'll get to the hopefully 5-minute timer for that episode. Um, so when I think about their relationship, I think like really a lot of that energy that I think reaches a peak in KH3, like that feeling of familiarity and camaraderie. I think it originates in Com. As much as I love 1, I don't think there's a ton of time that the 3 get to really like bounce off of each other and like feed off of each other's energy. But I
Mhm.
think Chain of Memories is so good at like making the player feel like they're experiencing an actual consistent flowing narrative because the characters stop down after each floor, even if it's only for a second, even if it's a minor thing, or even if it's not even with SDG, but with the organization. Everyone's talking about, okay, here's what's going on. Let's recap. Let's talk about how we feel about things. You really don't get that in really any of the number titles, especially not 1 or 2. You just sort of like go place to place and, maybe you'll have some banter in the middle. But like, wouldn't it be cool if in the numbered games, if SDG were like, and H2 and 3 actually do this a bit to their credit. They're just sitting in the gummy ship and they're like, let's talk about everything that happened with Elsa and how, Anna got frozen and Elsa saved her. Or like, let's talk about how Mulan was able to prove herself to the Imperial Army, like, and like to tie it in somehow. Um, or just like talk about the overarching overall KH narrative that's taking place in the major original worlds. Um, I love how Chain of Memories returns to the premise, keeps the player on the hook about what's going on throughout the actual game, and not just these insulated Disney
Mm.
episodes.
I agree. Like in the last episode, we talked about how Kingdom Hearts 1 has a sense of intimacy that the other games don't.
Yeah.
And if Kingdom Hearts 1 is intimate, I would say that Chain of Memories is claustrophobic,
Yes.
but in a good way.
Absolutely. I think the
Yeah.
setting also plays into
You're
that.
doing a dungeon
Yeah.
crawl.
I think you're cramped up. You're cooped up in this small space.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's very oppressive, and everything looks the same. And you go up a floor, and you're just getting a repeat of the hallway that you looked at last time. And somehow I appreciate these hallways more than I appreciate the KH2 hallways. Go figure. Even though they put even less effort into their design, because at least we're talking about our feelings and how things are going. It just feels like, I hate to say the word real when referring to Kingdom Hearts or its dialogue,
Mm.
but like it's just more believable to have this group of friends talk about their experience as they're going through this like sort of traumatic experience together, at least so they think they are.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that like there's a more complete friendship arc. Like in the first game, they're exploring their dynamic.
Mm.
They have a back and forth. They have moments where they're not super happy with each other and then they kind of come together. But in Chain of Memories, like they have that dynamic. They're asking questions. They're talking to each other about their experiences. And there's a really poignant part towards the end where Sora has gone off the deep end and Donald Goofy and, Jiminy, to his credit, also they recognize
Mm.
it. And when they call Sora out on it, he snaps at them and he leaves. And it's a great moment.
Yeah.
I think everybody talks about how that is one of the best characterizations of not just the friendship, but Sora in particular
Mhm.
in the span of the series, because it's totally understandable. It's
Yeah.
totally real in the way that they would all react, and it gets beautifully resolved. And so when they have that final promise at the end of the game, when you pick up Trinity Limit and,
Mhm.
they're in the final hallways of the top floor, it is really earned.
Yeah. And just to go kind of dude bro about it, when Donald comes in with the Curaga and Goofy with the shield deflection against Larxene, and that's how they get reintroduced into the story after having a world off from them. Oh man, I was losing it as a kid. Even when it was sprites and GBA, I was
Incredible.
like, man, the boys are
Incredible.
back in town. So excited. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make a note right here that I'm gonna keep in, because I'm cutting out dead air and
Yeah.
moments when we stutter, or if we say something that is personal that I think, oh, maybe we should include that in the final
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast. So if you're doing the timing, it's not going to be 10 minutes on your end. So I'm just gonna
Mhm.
let you know now.
Yeah. Totally fair.
But yeah, no, and to kind of go off of that for like another kind of minute here, I think that
Mhm.
what Chain of Memories does really well is that it introduced the concept of interludes.
Mhm.
In the first game you had scenes between worlds, but Chain of Memories like made that formulaic where you
Yeah.
expected to have a debriefing with Donald and Goofy and Sora and Jiminy, and then maybe
Mhm.
occasionally the organization would be, interrupting, but because the cast is so much smaller in Chain of Memories, they don't have
Mhm.
to cover as much ground. They have the interludes in 2, but there aren't as many. And
Yeah. Like, phew,
and
not nearly.
in days, some days, Roxas and Axel and Shion will do a debriefing on the clock tower.
Mhm.
And Dream Drop does a really great job of having in between world interludes,
Yeah.
and
Underrated part of Dream Drop.
3 does it as well, but there's just so many characters that it does not have the same feeling because they have to use that to cover ground.
Right.
So
And I don't
I
even
think
I don't even blame 3 for that. I just blame like the character bloat that we've, kind of reached by this point in the series, and that's
right,
something that I hope 4 improves on. It's just there's so many, players to keep track of.
yeah,
And everyone's expecting to see, all these familiar faces in 3 and see what they're up to.
yeah,
So what can you do?
yeah, and Com didn't have that problem, so that's a
Nope.
good point. Okay. Well, that was a good chunk of it, and a beautiful thing to think up. What I think is going to be interesting about this is that I think, and this is kind of by design,
Hmm.
for every episode, we're probably going to be switching off on like one episode. One of us might like narrative, one might like a
Yeah.
game design thing, one might like a music thing, And I think that's kind of perfect for Kingdom Hearts because
Yeah.
it's never everything operating on every cylinder. You
No.
know.
Yeah, probably not. There's a couple of games where I think it comes close, but there are definitely some more lopsided experiences where it's like, well, at least Shimamura's put in work, and that's sort of all there is to write about.
And
I
you know
want to
what? She
say
always does.
she always does, and I want to see if we can call our shot here. Do you think, in our series covering every game,
Hmm.
will either of us ever have something primarily to say about the combat? Like, will that be our point? Because I don't think it will be for you, and I'm not even sure if it will be for me. Not to say that we don't like the, fighting. That's like the main, gameplay mechanism in these games. But I'm just like thinking ahead, and it's like I don't know where I'm ever gonna say, you know what, my favorite thing is about this game, the
Hmm.
combat.
Um, I can't imagine combat being a blanket reason for anything, but
Yeah.
I can imagine being like, you know what? This is something that's really special about this game. So, like, I could imagine this is not going to be my point for Birth by Sleep, but
Mm.
for Birth by Sleep being like, I think that form changes as a concept is really cool.
Yeah.
Or, the command board is a really interesting way of leveling up the battles system, et
Mm.
cetera, et cetera. I could see talking about aspects of it that are really interesting, but for 10 minutes, I'm not,
Right.
I'm not
That's the
sure.
thing.
I'm not
I
going
think
to take off
neither of us
maybe.
are the guy for that, Like if you're
Yeah.
here for like, the combat analysis, you're
Mm,
probably in like the furthest from correct spot.
yeah.
But we both have things we like about them, but like PJ said, 10 minutes that might be rough to really deep dive into.
Yeah. Like I can't talk about how good it feels to cancel an attack in Kingdom Hearts 2 for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, me neither.
There are people who can and can probably do it very eloquently and
Absolutely.
better than I could, but that's not me. And likewise, I wouldn't be comfortable with other people talking about the thing that I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start my timer.
Yeah.
And my topic is the pixel art of Chain of Memories OG.
I know this is near and dear to you.
That it is so near and dear to me. I dabble with doing pixel art, and Chain of Memories is absolutely the start of that for me.
Mm.
Um, but my history with it is, my parents were gamers, and in their time, pixel art was the primary way of doing the graphics in video games.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I need to know like what your parents played.
Well, my parents, I think originally they had a Commodore 64. So we're talking like
Nice.
the world of like text-based adventures and Pong.
Yeah.
For back when they did Atari, they also had a Super Nintendo. My dad had Duck Hunt. I remember playing the OG Duck
Yep.
Hunt when I was very small. And then my stepdad he was more of a gamer than my mom was, but my mom would always like steal the controller from me if there was a game that I was playing that she really wanted to play. But my stepdad had all of the new consoles and stuff, so like we went through Donkey Kong Country with Super Nintendo and kind of worked our way to the PlayStation. And because he had a PlayStation 2 when my parents got divorced, I would have to go whenever I wanted to play Kingdom Hearts originally, I would have to go over to his place on the weekends to play it. So it took me like 9 months to play the first game.
Right.
But having said that, that was kind of my intro to video games from an aesthetic perspective. And when I saw that Chain of Memories was coming, I just fell in love with that pixel art style. It's the style that it's called is isometric, which means that everything is from that catty corner angle where everything looks kind of like a diamond in terms of like how the maps are designed. And I love it. I think that it's such a cute and clever way to keep the interesting design choices that they have without like breaking the bank of making these worlds with every game. Or I'm sorry, with every floor. I don't think it translates as well to 3D space. So like,
Yeah, I would agree.
Recom is great, but like I miss it on the Game Boy, and I think it plays differently on the Game Boy.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and it's not just about Chain of Memories, but also just pixel art in general. If it's done well, is that it's kind of timeless in that way. Where it's like, PS2 graphics were not timeless by the time like the PS3 or 4 were out.
Right.
So going back to GBA Com, like it doesn't really feel archaic in the way that I think in large part it's due to that isometric style. Like obviously if you go back to like Final Fantasy 1 on the NES, like that's gonna feel
Right.
grimy, but just how clean and crisp and stylized everything is in Com really gives it that timeless air to it.
So I'm trying to think of the best way to parse all of this before time kind of runs out. But I think that it's interesting to note that Tetsuya Nomura, I believe his first job at Square was as a pixel artist. Originally, it was his job to transform some of Amano's artwork to the characters, to the little 2D pixels, and figure out a way to like do that. I think he originally worked on monsters and characters and pixel art, and then from there worked up and kind of became the de facto character designer for the Final Fantasy series for a number of years. And I always kind of thought that like Chain of Memories was an extension of that older thing. I think that it's kind of a shame that there aren't any other pixel art games in the series other than Chain of Memories. I think that particular style and the one that they created is beautiful. I think it's really unique in a way. And I think it's just kind of crazy that like you have other games that have the same 3D style as Kingdom Hearts. You have the Key and Union Cross illustrated chibi look that prevailed through Dark Road, and we never revisited the pixel art. And back in the day, we are talking 20 years ago at this point.
True,
There was a community of Kingdom Hearts pixel artists, spriters is what they were called back in the day. And there was this place called the Rippers Hangout, which was where everyone who was working on the game, ripping the assets, would meet. And it was a compilation of all of the sprites. They're pretty easy to find now, but the Spriters resource is not complete. There were sheets that I mean they took the whole game, and I was a part of that. And the first
Mm.
person that created that, he had he did custom pixel art as well, and he had an apprentice, and his apprentice took on me as an apprentice, and there was literally like this Keyblade-esque legacy of people who were
Yeah.
teaching each other the style. Um, and I didn't really become comfortable in doing the Chain of Memories pixel art style until maybe the last like 6 or 7 years or so.
Mm.
And now it's kind of my goal to at least make every character in the series in the Chain of Memories style.
Ooh,
Um, which I'm almost
I
I've
wish.
almost done. I've got like 90% of the cast finished at this point.
Yeah, I wish this was like a visual medium because I would love to have them pop up on screen right now because I love PJ's comified characters. I like you've done the Deep Jungle ones, which obviously you never had the chance to see in actual GBA com. I just think that's such a fun exercise.
Yeah, and it's kind of weirdly it's been my life's work in a way because I've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so that's I mean that's crazy, but yeah, there was this whole community that was like that they were really teaching each other, and it was really crappy Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memory edits for a long time and like recolors. Um,
right.
and I don't know, like I don't think anyone really does it anymore in the Kingdom Hearts community, and that's okay. I don't need the competition; it's fine. But I
Yeah,
think, I mean, that was just a really special time. It was really fun and unique and weird, and we could never replicate it because they never did it again. I think the
yeah.
closest that we came to that was Brave Exvius, the phone game, the Final Fantasy phone
Oh,
game,
okay, yeah.
because they had a couple different Kingdom Hearts campaigns. So Sora, Riku, Kairi, and even young Xehanort were all uh pixelified playable characters at
Mm,
one point. Um and that did my heart kind of good to see some of
yeah.
those characters kind of pop back up.
Nostalgic.
But yeah, but now pixel art games are mostly indie. Square does a
Yeah.
couple of the pixel remasters and a couple of HD 2D games, which I think HD 2D is gorgeous. I would love to see a Kingdom Hearts game in that style. But it
Oh,
feels like right now they're only really focusing on doing mobile games and AAA. So I don't know.
PJ, picture this: Switch 2, and we have like the Nintendo eShop or whatever they call it nowadays. I don't know, but we have like as a launch title, as like a little special thing. It's Chain of Memories HD. Like, oh man, could you imagine like an HDified 2D com?
Yeah.
Ugh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. I mean,
Come on.
I think it would be fun. I just think that like they would have to totally redo it because the
Yeah, they
isometric
would.
style doesn't.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, it would be a lot of fun. I think that I would like it if they did something new, or if they did HD 2D remasters of the games that they haven't done yet. So like
Mm,
Days and Coded. I think Coded would actually do really well with a
yeah.
pixelated treatment.
It's hard to do
Um,
worse.
oh gosh. I mean, I don't want to
I
become a
actually
hater,
no,
but
not yet. We're not in our time for that yet.
no.
But speaking of coded, how do you feel about the Avatar pixely guys that originate in there?
Oh, they're
I
cute.
think they're so gross. I hate them. Like I I don't like I have my qualms with Union Cross and Dark Road, but like the art style I'm totally fine with. Like I think it's pleasant to look at. But every time I see those little guys, like whether it's like a loading screen or the avatar menu or whatever, I'm just like, oh, they look like such decrepit little goblins. I hate them.
And that became the basis of the theater rhythm art
Which I
style.
do like. I think it's refined for theater rhythm. I'm a big theater rhythm guy. I love Final Bar Line, and I think they look so good there. But something about seeing pasty ass Sora in that coded style, so gross.
Yeah, that's your thing. He's trying to take that away from you.
Yeah, so get off my territory. The hell?
I've got like 16 seconds left. So if you'll allow me to wax a little bit more poetically,
Of course.
I think in general, I love the Kingdom Hearts art styles. I think most of the games are really beautiful. I just kind of wish that they would do more. I wish that they would. I kind of wish they'd do a pixel art thing. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
There's
and that's it.
unfortunately so much untapped potential when it comes to like appreciating and revisiting the series history, which maybe sounds crazy to the outsider looking in, because it's like, oh man, I feel like they re-release Kingdom Hearts all the time, and they kind of do, but like I just wish there was a bit more of like a self-reverence in spots. We're at we just had our 20th anniversary, and like, yeah, we had the announcements, but like I just wish there was, I don't know, some sort of, another all-in-one package, but with like some extras, some features. Like I would love, one of those older Sonic or Kirby collection games where it was like a museum built in. Like I would love that for Kingdom Hearts. The closest we ever came was Melody of Memory.
Sometimes I want to play the original PlayStation 2 Kingdom Hearts. It's not the same.
Honestly,
it's just not the same as. I mean, Final Mix is great. The HD is a lot of fun. I'm glad that they did it. I think it's beautiful. I certainly would recommend it. But sometimes I miss the original version of my childhood.
Yeah, and at least let us toggle the Heartless colors. That's
God.
like, that's got to be so easy. But whatever. What do I know?
I mean, there are plenty of mods that do it.
Yeah,
really easily.
Yeah, but it should be baked in. It should be go to Jiminy's journal,
I know.
press triangle, and we switch over. You should be able to mix and match if you really want.
Oh, they're so ugly. But that's not that's not what's happening today.
True.
And if I could get
we
into
missed our
it,
chance to bitch about that. Yeah.
Oh man, if maybe in future seasons we'll start talking about fandom history, because Ripper's Hangout had a hostile takeover. There were a lot of like really crappy people and bad faith actors, and like I had like, I'm not going to call him a stalker, but I definitely had like a nemesis who would not leave me the hell alone for
oh my god,
like a decade. It was horrible.
Well, good thing the era of stalkers and bad faith actors is over.
I mean,
anyway,
okay. The things that we hate. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I mean, do you want to start my timer?
Yeah, starting 1 minute. The thing that Pat hated, starting now.
Okay, so even though I vastly prefer KH1 over Chain of Memories, I don't think there's anything about Calm that reaches those same depths of hatred that I go to when I think about Genie Jafar. So I'm less mad this time and more so disappointed. I think for me, the thing I dislike the most about Calm is the complete lack of a post-game or really any reason to keep playing the game past Marluxia or to replay it. And I'm not typically one who's like making a stink about a game having less stuff to do. I'd rather have a tight experience than a bloated one. But I think there's so much potential for Calm to really take some interesting and also obvious avenues, and it just doesn't do that. The game is loaded with these card effects and these different strategies and sleights, and they deserve more scrutiny, but the game isn't really long or deep enough fully to justify spending too much time on that. I think also through making my video about the enemy cards a few years ago, I realized how much of this game, and especially Recom, would have benefited from a new game plus, or just any extra bosses or challenges of any kind. But there's really nothing to go on there beyond getting the Platinum Trophy. No way to shake up the gameplay beyond a self-imposed challenge. And I don't think you should have to rely on self-imposed challenges. People should not be left to their own devices, especially if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan. So I went a little over there.
All right. Well, yeah, that was 1 minute, but you had a good point.
Yeah.
I still don't remember what the point I was going to make was, but I will say that I think I agree and I disagree because I consider Reverse Rebirth.
That's true.
The ultimate post game content.
That's a great point.
Like I understand that it's also a whole ass separate game, and it's not your Sora save file.
Right. Like it's so substantial that I think of it as like an extra like mini game, basically.
Of course.
But that's a good point in that like it really is a reward for beating. I mean, my jaw dropped because I had no idea. Like I didn't keep up with pre-release. I was a child. So when the title screen changes and there's a Riku mode, like it seems like something that's made up on the playground. Like it really seems like, oh, if you beat Sora's story, and maybe you have to like, check under the vase in the 7th floor landing like 8 times, like some new truck shit. And then you unlock Riku. Like it just seems fake, and it's such wish fulfillment. So I have to give the game props for, going the extra mile with that at all.
Yeah, it is a little fanficky. Unfortunately, they did spoil that was happening in the marketing. Which is annoying.
Yeah, don't you see Riku like as a playable, like even in like one of the TV commercials, I think you can see it for a split second or so.
Yeah, there were two TV commercials that I can remember. One was Sora centric and one was Riku centric.
Okay.
And so the Riku centric one like was just full ass like, here's Riku playable, here's Mickey as a party member, oh look, he's talking to Kairi, and here's the last cutscene walking down the path in the organization code with Mickey.
Yeah, so for people who think like, oh man, Cage 3, they showed everything. They've always been this bad. They've always been doing this shit.
Always.
I guess I never saw the Riku version of the commercial. Like, I just remember seeing and hearing Simple and Clean playing through my TV and like being drawn like a moth to a flame again. It was the Siren song.
I don't know if I think maybe there was. I don't remember the American versions. I don't remember if there were two American ones. I just remember there being two Japanese ones. Man, that should be the next thing that we do if we decide to keep doing the series, though, is talking about the history of that. Because, man, I could talk about those trailers and the PR for these games all day.
See, that I would love. Like, I would definitely be taking a back seat there because I like was not super involved with like the pre-release stuff for a lot of the games. I like famously for 3, I sat out a lot of it because I was just so, made ill by the discourse. But I would that and like the fandom spaces and like the history of that I think would be fascinating.
Cool. Well, we'll keep that on the back burner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna change the thing that I hate.
Okay. Do it.
I do not remember what I was coming correct with.
Well, for the Cage 2 episode, you can, give the audience an update on your initial hatred point.
If I remember.
You might not. It might be Nominee might have plucked it out of your brain.
I'm going to start the timer now.
Do it. I'm ready.
So here's the thing. I've hated this from the beginning. I hated it in the original Chain of Memories, and I still hate it now. Those little fuckers, the creeper plants.
Wow, okay.
They, by and large, I don't know what it was on the Game Boy, but my original experience with them was that they were totally just cheap shotting little fuckers.
Yeah.
And I was never ready for them, and they always sucker punched me, and they always killed me. I hate them. I hate looking at them. I hate their little thorns. I hate the way that you fall over and you lose all your money. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? And they always seem to have just the card to break whatever you are. And they're one of the first Heartless that you run into in the first game, by the way. In the first, in Sora's campaign, I mean. Like, you go to Wonderland, they're right there.
Yep.
You go to Olympus. I'm pretty sure they're in Olympus. Maybe
they might be,
but regardless, they're in the first pool that you can pick from. Why would you put something so annoying in the first part of the game?
Yeah. So
I hate them.
Here's how I feel like your hatred is justified, because there's very, very few enemies where I can like think of like what their card value is. I know for a fact that the creeper plants have a 6, which is so high for like you said, a Wonderland Heartless. Like, you have to prioritize taking them out. I always would, because like I had the same experience. They come up from underneath with the vines, and they trip you, and they stab you in the foot, and they have 6s. So you have to take them out first, because who's going to have 7s through 9s or 0s, I guess, at that that early juncture of the game. Total bastards. I agree.
Yeah,
and one of the 3 new ones.
Yes, they're new. That's why you're probably wondering, if at home, like, why are you talking about it in Chain of Memories? Because they were created for Chain of Memories. The first time you see them, they're in the little pixelated form, and you might think like, oh, well, they're stationary. They're rooted to the spot. They're not going to follow you around. Wrong. Those thorns have the entire field at their disposal, and they will just pop right out like a bad X, just right in your foot, take you out.
Yep, absolutely.
Horrible. Just horrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Watching my boyfriend play Chain of Memories and just seeing him hit the ground and all of his money go. Like, that was my job. I was supposed to do.
I love when Sora falls on the ground. He has that in Calm, and he has that in the Ice Titan fight in 1. I call it like Grandma Life Alert mode. It's just so pathetic, because like this guy is capable of so much, but then it's like, oh, I slipped on a slippery patch of ice or thorn.
Or the banana peels.
Oh yeah, the banana peels.
Yeah, the Power Wild.
Yeah. Bouncy Wild,
Bouncy Wilds have the peels. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It
is a little unintentional clown because of the big shoes. Like, there is
that's
kind of like,
yeah. It doesn't go like whoop, like there's like this cartoony slip noise. That's great.
and he like scratches the back of his head like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
even I know
man,
that's bad, and I'm a
I'm
bunch of
embarrassed.
polygons. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they suck, man. They
Yeah.
just suck. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. I love Com. I'm like, again, like probably a more staunch defender of the game than most. I felt like more
Mhm.
excited to talk about Com than I was for one, even though I vastly prefer one. Like I said earlier, I just feel like one doesn't need shooters like Com does. Like someone needs to
No,
be out here for Com
they
and
need
fighting for it.
defenders for
Yeah,
sure. I get it. And you know how I think you said in the last game that Kingdom Hearts makes you feel Christmassy,
yeah.
like the first game.
Especially, I would actually say Chain of Memories, mostly because I got it at Christmas in 2004.
I did too. I did too. And I remember because it came out in either early December or late November. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I think so.
Or early November. But regardless, like there was a wait
Yeah.
of like it's out and I can't get it until Christmas. And I
Yep.
remember my family did the thing where on Christmas Eve we go over to grandma's and grandma
Yep.
would have presents and Christmas, and then Christmas morning, yada yada. And grandma's Christmas present was the Brady Game Strategy Guide for Chain of Memories. And I was like, that was
Oh,
especially heinous because it
yeah.
was like, I'm getting it. I still can't play it
Did you
for-
look at the guide? Did you like open the guide
Yeah.
up before you got the game? Yeah. There's no self-control
Yeah, but
at
like
that
here's the thing. I already knew what happened because it
Yeah.
had been out in Japan for a month, and I was on the site staff of KH Ultimania, which was kh2.co.uk, and we had an exclusive leak of the English version of Chain of Memories, including the opening movie, which got like the fandom's first cease and desist letter from Square Enix, and it was like a huge badge of honor.
Oh, that's that's such innocent times, such early days. The first
Yeah,
C&D.
I was like 13 and being like, oh my God, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. That's so funny. I remember
cute, yeah.
with Com, like knowing because I asked my mom for the game for Christmas, but she would always like give stuff to my gram to give to me because it was just easier that
Aw.
way. Like my gram wanted to have things to give to me, so I was like, okay, because we go to your mom's before we do Christmas Day, like we would go to my gram's on Christmas Eve. Like, can this be one of the things that Gram gives me so I have it like 24 hours early? And sure enough. I got to play GBA Com all throughout the
Aw.
Christmas Eve party and Christmas Day.
Mm. Your mom's a better planner than mine was, evidently. She's still alive, so.
Well, you gotta cut that, right? I mean, Jesus Christ.
No, I'm keeping it in.
Keep it.
They need to know. They need to
need to
learn
know.
at some point.
That's lore.
Oh, God, I love Com though.
Yeah.
It's good times. It's good times. I love the whole series.
too.
I'm very fond of it. But yeah, this one definitely holds a very special place in my heart and has given me a freaking hobby that I still have 20 years later.
Yeah. You can't say that about many video games, so.
I cannot. Any,
can't.
actually.
Yeah.
None. Other than, Kingdom Hearts. I guess you could say Kingdom Hearts is a hobby, but
Yeah, like making stuff about Kingdom Hearts in general, like I do that, but something as specific and artful as the pixel stuff, that's hard to come by.
I do that.
I do that.
Okay, we don't have to talk about anything else. We're not even going to do an outro because I think that we should record like a canned outro. So
Okay, sure.
we'll do that later.
Yeah.
We'll do that another day.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thanks for listening, and we're going to fade out now. Fade. Thank you for listening to another great episode of No Sad Face, or if this is your first episode, welcome. You can find out everything about this series at nosadface.com. It will have past episodes, it'll have different places to watch, it'll have my links, it'll have Pat's links, it'll have credits. Speaking of which, our music is done by the incredible David Russell from Project Astadi. Go and download his music. He is phenomenal. There will be links in nosadface.com. Our art is done by the incredible Espurr Roba. Ingenious, again, links in the thing. All of the animation that we have for our videos, those are also done by David. Honestly, these people give us way more than we deserve, and we're very thankful. And if you want to listen to other episodes, they're all there. And if you want to find out when the next episode is, those dates will be listed on the website. And check it out. Follow us on social media.
Do it. That's my input.
Thanks, bye!
Bye.